We made an introduction to the video. For the previous video, I alluded to two characters and the context. We're gonna continue. So this main character ends up well, not ends. This main character you know hasn't found their friends from their past lives. So the main character has parents. Um, we're just not going to introduce it yet. Um, the second character also has parents too. So therefore, we have 6 characters so far. We're not going to. Yeah, let's just you know. So the main character meets the second character in the middle of the forest. Um, the second character is quite you know say the second character we know has you know let's see, let's not let's try to introduce other things like laws of physics in this world. Let's see here. We have to, it's like, is this the United States? It's like, we have to, that's gonna be a little tough, right? This is why making a story is not easy. Because we could make it, pure fantasy world, which is probably, much more reasonable for a lot of reasons. We could brainstorm all these different laws of physics, or we could just plainly make a story about planet Earth. The only problem is a lot of books that based on planet Earth, they don't exactly. It's like who's the president, right? Yeah. You'd be lucky if there's any map of any sort at all, but that would, I have seen fiction books like that. You have one picture of like some map of something. If you're lucky, there might be another picture inside, right? The book, right? But if there's only one picture at all, it kind of sucks, but it's still better than zero. It's like, I mean, you have like a book with at least 150 to 200 pages of text, right? And there's this one picture of a map, right? Maybe if the book, the author is a little generous, there's a second map, right? Second picture of a map on a different page. It doesn't really tell us what the president is and such. It tells us at least some idea of their, So, if we're talking about planet Earth in the future, this main character has a past life that they don't remember much, but we don't know why they don't remember much. Is it because, we can't discuss things like reincarnation stuff because that's the reason authors might not discuss it is simply it's. I thought it was because they didn't want to offend the religion, of the reader. But I considered a different explanation is that perhaps it's not necessary to mention. This, why would it not be necessary? Because it's not. It's like, I've seen. It took me a while to understand. Yeah, perhaps it's better to focus on again, like if I make the opinion that this character is immature, that doesn't make any sense, right? So it's useful to provide some context. Right? That's a writing That's a technique that one could a writer uses to let the reader you know so this character you know, we can provide details on things like what they're feeling, what they're wearing, what they're you know their inner monologue, that type of stuff. Um, like what's the first person they think of, right? What is the first person that comes up to their mind? Their parents, or is it someone else, right? Or is it just themselves, right? Maybe they didn't mention their parents until their monologue until like the middle of the book. It's kind of difficult for me to create this character. You have to make decisions like that. And I'm like, why am I discussing things that an English teacher or language arts teacher would discuss? Well, first of all, discussing certain, first of all, the reason I have to discuss it this way is because, it's not a non-fiction book where you have all these facts, right? It's we're creating a fictional book. Now, in many ways, a fiction book and non-fiction book, like there is some, like if you can read a fiction book a certain way, because I read a lot of non-fiction books in the past, right? But the thing is that there is a lot of great stuff from the fiction books, if you just know how to read it, right? So so to provide context, this character, for whatever reason, doesn't remember much from their past lives. So that's great because there's a lot of characters many books I've read are based like that, right? But then again, it's not like I've read every fiction book. I've only read maybe a tiny percentage of all the fiction books created. So perhaps the tiny sampling of books I've been able to read. I never. Perhaps other books have different. Have different. Anyway. And then again, that's 99.99% of other books. So we just introduced two characters here. The second character, let's say, should we make the second character older than the first character? Because that's important. Like maybe the second character is born like 10 years prior, right? That can be very useful for many reasons. So if they were the same age, that's a different. We have two possible. We have two possible plans for making this. If we make the second character older, there's some advantages. It could provide as a mentor role. It could provide as I think it's called a foil or something like that, right? Or whatever it's called, whatever the word is, the jargon word is. Now, if we make them the same age, that actually could be useful for many reasons. Because people often compare things like apples to oranges. Right? So there could be some kind. That could be much easier for the reader for many reasons. Right? So there are many decisions an author can make to, these are very important decisions that don't get discussed when you read a book, right? When you read a book, these things don't get discussed for a lot of reasons. Let's see here. So, I'm yet to introduce a third or fourth or fifth character. But let's just say we were trying to conjecture a plan for making a friend group for the first or second character. That wouldn't be very easy, right? Because There's certain facts that I have to allude to. Let's create a fact here is that we need to create the mayor character for the tribe. And we also have to create certain other facts, like um, the other facts are, if we were to have a World War III scenario in this story, what year would it be? Would the year be 2040? That's important, right? These are facts that need to be, put in the book, right? Sometimes it's in the first or second chapter. Sometimes the facts don't get, you know, sometimes the facts don't get. If we're gonna create this type of, fictional, futuristic world, maybe the facts should be that War Three, blah blah blah, was in the middle of the book. It doesn't get mentioned until the middle of the book, right? Perhaps indirectly. So,